I've been pretty open about my general preference to be as far away from contrast paints as possible, at least in my own painting. Not only do I not overly love the look they give of, this was very clearly painted with this certain product, but at the same time, they can be glossy, they can place shadows where you don't always want them, they're slow drying, and they have the added risk of blowing the paint out of the recesses if you dry it with a hairdryer. All in all, not super useful for how I paint. The thing is though, a lot of this bias comes from my position as a professional commission painter, where there's an agreed standard of quality assigned to each particular job, and I have to hit it. But these contrast and contrast-like products aren't actually designed to fill that niche. They're not made for me. So perhaps I'm being a little too hard on them. Now, I've already tried GW's contrast paints extensively. I've also tried the Scale 75 instant colours a bunch too. I find the GW effort too glossy, the Scale 75 effort not pigmented enough. I don't really think anything is going to help that. However, the newest, and I know they're not super new now, addition to the market in Army Painter's Speedpaints gave me at least a glimmer of hope. I knew that they dried matte, unlike contrast paints, but I also knew that they were very pigmented, unlike Scale instant colours. So I decided to have one last swing of the golf club and decide if there was a place for these products in my life at all. Before we get into the details though, I want to explain my motivation for making this video. You see, I review a lot of box sets. It's a thing that I not only really enjoy doing, but I feel it provides a nice service to the community, being able to get a look inside a product before they buy it from someone independent who isn't the maker of that product. And many of those games I get painted up and I play with regularly, having hours of fun. But many of them, whether I play them or not, also end up becoming big old piles of unpainted plastic, with maybe 1, 2, 3 gleaming gems of painted goodness to various stages amongst them. I'll be honest with you, I'm fed up of this. So fed up, I'm actually willing to turn to a product that I've always assumed I really dislike. Now, I offer a range of standards in my commission work, bronze, silver and gold, and personally I believe that they all produce better painted miniatures than a standard, unmodified contrast approach would in my hands. And rightly so. I charge money for that service. The outcome should be something both myself and the customer can be proud of, even at the lower price tiers. But this plan to give Speedpaints a chance isn't about drawing in customers for my commission service or wowing people on Instagram. It's about reducing this pile of stuff, wherever possible, to being less grey and, well, more finished. So normally at this point I might take you on a close-up journey into how the painting went, but truth be told, the products and the processes aren't new. You've seen them all before, and you've seen people who are much better than me produce great looking miniatures with them. Instead, I want to talk more about the results. The first and least successful one I want to discuss is this Nikola Tesla model from Wild West Exodus. This game is one that I'm really eager to get playing, but I don't actually think any of the starter set minis will feature in my long-term plans. I already have my eye on the models that I want for the game. So with that in mind, I was pretty happy to risk Speedpaints making these look less than amazing. I went for an approach where the majority of the model was speed paint, with just a little normal metallic to accent it here and there, and it just kinda isn't great. The speed paint does apply flatter and cleaner to armour panels than either the Scale or GW offerings, and the finish is nice and matte, but compared to the original, it's just really not exciting to look at. You'll also notice the infamous reactivation issue has caused me problems here. I'll try to find a video to link above to detail that more if you're not aware of it. But I've gotten red onto the lightning, and then when I've re-primed it to apply the green over the top, it's activated the red and not allowed me to cover it up. I should note that I think this can actually be a feature in some situations, for example if you were doing streaking grime. But here, in this case, it was a massive problem. My second attempt here was a little bit more successful, where the majority of the miniature is just metallics and therefore painted the traditional way. But there were a few areas where it made sense to use the speed paint. There were some highly textured parts, and that paint creates a strong shadow and a smooth mid-tone as a result. The main lessons learned here were that these paints do exactly that. They create an analogue for shading and mid-tone, but because they're so strong in pigment, they don't really provide a highlight, so to speak. I did try to mix some lighter colours into the speed paints and highlight this way, but it wasn't really being super effective and it was taking a long time. However, the beard was highlighted in the normal traditional way with just greys and whites, and as you can see, although I did rush it a bit because this was supposed to be a speed paint job, it holds up way better than the rest of the miniature. That said, I believe if I had a second session with this one where I just sat down and added some nice highlights to everything in the traditional way, I could probably get it toward being at least on par with what I would call a bronze tier commission. The problem being there is that it would have taken me about the same length of time as a bronze tier commission, so the product isn't really bringing anything to the table. Either way, I consider this one a moderate success, even if when compared to the official art it looks super basic, whereas with Tesla I actually want to and intend to repaint the Mini. This is one that I'm at least happy to leave how it is. For our third and in my opinion most successful entry, we're now stepping sideways slightly to the other War Cradle game in the dystopian universe, that being Dystopian Wars, and this is where I feel like a product like this can shine. Here we have some very simple submarines. They're clean shapes with nice deep recesses between the panels. There's also quite a number of them needed, and these things all point to the key checkmarks for me on where these kind of products can shine. With a character model, people want to pick it up and look at it. Almost universally, they are sculpted to stand out, and so it makes sense to paint them in a way that stands out. Speed paints and the like aren't really for your dragons or your huge battle machines or your force leaders. They're for rank and file troops or multiples of the same Mini that need to look coloured in from 5 feet away so as to not break the immersion of the table. As I said at the start of this video, there are definitely means and ways with which to elevate these products by adding subsequent techniques and effort over the top of them, but that, to my mind, doesn't really serve a function that should necessitate buying a new product. With my submarines here, I was able to paint 6 miniatures out of a box set in 15 minutes flat. I can't do that with normal paint, whether it be to this standard or better, and so the product is bringing something unique to the table. The thing with these products is that they really do well when used on miniatures with certain types of surfaces. Things with lots of panel lines or heavy textures, things where the lack of a highlight isn't going to make them look dull. If your project checks a lot of these boxes, they can definitely speed you up massively. But if you're looking for the best quality or your miniatures don't suit the strengths of the products, then I still stand by my belief that old-fashioned painting generally wins out. Still, it feels good to finally feel warmer and more open to a product I've previously just assumed I kind of universally dislike and don't have a use for. Another product I never expected to like, but am very keen to change my mind on after a little bit of testing, is these Turbo Dog colour shift paints. Traditionally, I don't really love painting with metallics, and I find colour shift paints in particular can be quite hard work. So I'd love to hear your suggestions in the comments for some things I can try with these that might change my mind on them. Let me hear your bright ideas. So I hope these thoughts and musings on Rennie paints have been interesting or maybe even insightful. I think my final choice for this kind of product would still be the Army Painter Speed Paint offering, right now at least. Whilst the reactivation problem is potentially serious, verging on disastrous, I think it can be worked around by using varnish, by using smart placement of where you put the product, without it costing too much extra time. What are your thoughts on these kind of products, and which do you think is best? The upcoming Viejo offering has me genuinely really excited, something I can't usually say when brands have announced these contrast analogues in the past. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, maybe consider subscribing to the channel for behind the scenes access, exclusive content and entry to my lovely Discord server. You could also consider checking out my Patreon linked below this video. Until next time friends, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.